This is Binterik on Dawah. Assalamu alaikum. Have we forgotten that other Muslims are people? Or that other people are Muslims? I hope that I can still be shocked when a Muslim behaves badly towards another Muslim. It's getting so common, almost expected, that especially online, when you observe good manners, for which Muslims should be the standard, that's more shocking than a sarcastic remark or an insult. The Messenger of Allah ﷺ said that the Muslim is one from whose tongue and hand the people are safe, and the believer is the one from whom the people's lives and wealth are safe. 3 of these things should be obvious to most Muslims. We don't physically harm Muslims, and we don't steal from them. But the first, the tongue, the words, that's what this podcast is about. After having been on TikTok for about 3 years, I've gotten a lot of negative feedback from non-Muslims who are annoyed that my old, fully covered self-talking about Islamic law is disrupting the flow of people singing and dancing. What started to happen is Muslims trying to cause me pain. I wasn't ready for that. A lot of people will tell you not to pay attention to the comment section. My son told me not to even read them. I field questions of all kinds, though, so I need to review if someone has a genuine question regarding the content. Just a few videos from my very first on TikTok, I got a comment from a Muslim brother how it's haram for me to be making videos. The fiqh aside, his comment had A, nothing to do with my content or topic, and 2, not coming from a place of care, but of judgment and anger and hatred. Now, if I'm in the mood, I will respond to the comment with a question or a comment back to begin a conversation. Often the mood changes as the person begins arguing with me, and then the insults start coming. Sometimes the Muslim is so rude that I have to block them and even leave the app for a little while until my heart heals. When I calm down, I am still shaken because I'm amazed that a Muslim is the one who is hurting me with their words. The reason? They want to win the argument. With non-Muslims, I expect the conversation to degrade into insults quickly because the truth of Islam is undeniable, so they have to resort to shallow name-calling. The thing about social media is that you aren't on there to gain students or lifelong followers. You just have a minute or two to present information and that's it. So why do people who find my content distasteful not just scroll on? It's irregular and disturbing that these Muslim keyboard warriors feel free to insult, degrade, and argue unnecessarily with other Muslims when the Prophet told us that we should be safe around each other. No fiqh teacher will tell you that communicating via text comment and via spoken words face-to-face have any different ruling when it comes to harm. There should be no harm and no reciprocation of harm. From the hadith. How do we forget that Allah is aware and angels are writing down what we are writing? It seems as though Muslims may believe that only spoken words are written down by the angels. You let me know if it's something else. I like to think that Muslims have some fear of Allah and only feel safe from Allah's punishment due to this misunderstanding. Manners make the Muslim. I have spoken, written, and made a lot of videos about manners, so there's no need to repeat these lessons. You can find them on my YouTube channel and elsewhere on TikTok. But a lot of them have to do with being conscious of Allah while writing and responding. When a Muslim has made a mistake, we should be concerned for them and hope to right the wrong. But there are protocols that come with correcting others' mistakes. That is also another series of videos that I've posted, but I haven't yet touched on the topic of how we appear to others through our useless and abusive arguments with other Muslims. Private messages and DMs of bad and rude comments is one thing, but my point here is to talk about how others are viewing your comments. As much as some Muslims may complain that my commentary on the bad behavior of Muslims gives a bad example of Islam to non-Muslims, your comments arguing and trying to pull down a fellow Muslim is just as bad, if not worse. In fact, I was delayed in my research on Islam due to this behavior. I witnessed Muslims refusing to help other Muslims or sabotaging their efforts out of spite. Certainly, my Christian parents and their friends were better as they cared for each other and were helpful. It wasn't until I met Muslims who showed a care for each other for the sake of Allah that I actually considered Islam as a better way of life than the life I was leading. Yes, the non-Muslims should see us as a better way of life. We should be displaying this. Please, give me nothing to talk about in my podcast. Let us shed the negativity and the personal attacks and the bad manners with each other. Let's do this for the sake of Allah, in the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when we encounter a Muslim online, let's remember first that we are dealing with our brother or our sister in Islam. They should be someone who is safe with us. Another aspect of commenting when you find something or commenting an argument or commenting at all is that it's not necessary most of the time for you to put your 2 cents or your 5 cents or $5 into this conversation. I remember one time I had uploaded a recitation of Surah Al-Balad, And of course, Surah Al-Balad ends in a similar ayah elsewhere in the Quran. And the brother told me I missed an ayah. So I told him, I said, this is another surah. This is an entirely different surah, right? SubhanAllah. So he exposed himself as being entirely ignorant of anything other than that surah. And he just went ahead and just was commenting just because he felt I made a mistake. He assumed that I made a mistake. We won't get into the whole protocol of, the protocols of correcting a Muslim's mistakes. But the very first one is what a lot of people miss when they're commenting on people's videos and starting beef with people. And that is to actually know for sure that a mistake is being made. Know for sure that there's a mistake being made. Know for sure that there's something happening there, some expression, some words that is actually incorrect, and you need to step in. The status of the educational standard for Muslims is so low that I suspect that at least 75%, if not more, of the Muslims on TikTok don't have qualifications to stop anybody else and to point out any incorrect things. They've got a cultural understanding. They've got what their parents taught them. They've got their own, information that they gleaned from whoever on the internet or something, and they haven't studied, and they want to stop the flow of information by writing something rude or, making some kind of sexist or bigoted comment, about how the person is a different color than them and they can't possibly know, or as what happened recently, I busted this one sister about an issue that I was raising awareness about, and she said, well, I'm not going to learn from you because you don't cover your face, and all these other silly little arguments that people want to bring to discredit your information, and they don't know. They themselves don't actually know, and they are not going to admit it. The second you go into a public sphere with your ignorance, it's so much harder for you to get a correction and then actually be humble enough to accept this correction, because now you have the attention of others. And this makes it very hard for you then to accept that information. So next time you want to comment something rude, remember first, it's a Muslim. Second, you might not be correct. You've got to go and research it. You've got to go ask somebody of knowledge or look in your books or whatever, however you get your information, and then you present that information. But don't use it to cause a beef. Don't use it to cause, link, somebody else who's going to argue. I get some tags sometimes, different people, so they want to have somebody else have a beef with me, subhanAllah. This is not conducive to decent behavior. And as Muslims, we should be better. We should be better so that people will want to enter Islam. People always bother me about dawah and how do I get this person to be a Muslim? How do I get my wife to be a Muslim? How do I get my girlfriend to accept Islam? You just be a decent Muslim. Be better. We all just need to be better. So let's make our brothers and sisters online feel safe with us. And let's not be hasty in running to correct something that might not be a mistake in the first place. This has been Binterik on Dawah. Assalamu alaikum.